The Sir Arthur Lewis Community College, SALCC, and the National Competitiveness and Productivity Council, NCPC, held the second SALCC NCPC debate competition on Wednesday, the 8th of October, at the Financial Administrative Center in Castries. This year's moot was, Saint Lucia's long-term development is tied to U.S. hegemonic power, and maintaining those ties should be our primary focus. The proposition team was made up of Jalen Leo as seconder and Phoebe Popo as the team's leader. Their support of the moot was based on interdependence with the United States given its international dominance and the advantage of maintaining the benefits of Saint Lucia-US relations and partnerships.
Over-reliance on trade with the U.S. makes us vulnerable to the external shocks like U.S. policy changes, tariffs, and recessions. We should reduce trade dependence, is what the opposition may try to counter my points with. But no, but to this, moderator, I say playing it safe by walking away from our biggest market isn't protection. It's self-inflicted harm. Let's revisit our mood, shall we? Maintaining ties with the U.S. should be our primary focus, not our only focus.
The opposition team comprised of Liquan Louis as seconder and Ethan Glasgow as leader. The team took an anti-colonial approach and advocated for multipolarity in response to U.S. hegemonic power, as stated in the moot.
What we are calling for is simple but potent: diversification of interests, partnerships, and opportunities. The global order is no longer unipolar. The emerging powers in Africa, Asia, and Latin America provide new channels of trade, investment, and cultural interactions. St. Lucia, as a small country, quite frankly, can't put its eggs in one hegemonic basket.
The proposition team garnered 587 points, but ultimately the victory was captured by the opposition team, which amassed slightly under 600 points. This victory was by a slim margin, demonstrating the might of the arguments put forward by both teams. However, those were not the only worthwhile arguments made that day, as the audience of secondary school students launched some tough questions at the debaters during the question and answer segment.
One could argue that this is a reason why the U.S. shouldn't be our primary focus. You specifically stated that when the U.S. pulls their funding or pulls their support, we lose funds, we lose jobs, we use different things that we require. So to me, that sounds like a reason why we should branch out, why we shouldn't have it as our primary focus. Like the opposition said, we should not put all our eggs in one basket. So to say that the U.S. is our primary source is going to lead to economic ruin for St. Lucia.
When asked for their opinions on St. Lucia's foreign policy decisions on relations with the U.S., Liquan Louis advocated for increased youth inclusion in decision-making to ensure intergenerational equity in policy outcomes.
St. Lucia needs to prioritize its young people in those policies. So don't be too short-sighted when coming up with these policies, thinking that you're just looking at the monetary gain and the security. We also have to focus on the younger people, because essentially us, it's not just me, but the students that were here, my fellow speakers, all these other people, we are the ones that to be running the country later on after the elders retire and God forbid pass on and all that kind of thing. So our government, our people in power should focus on the younger people when coming up with these policies.
Jalen Leo advocated for Saint Lucian culture to become further popularized within U.S. society and markets.
I believe that Saint Lucia should be culturally impacting more on America, because not only should we expand on our culture, but have a lasting effect in America, because our culture should be seen and should be seen more than just in St. Lucia, because our culture right now is dying and there is so much diversity in America. Why not give our culture a shot in America?
Ethan Glasgow, who captured the title of Best Speaker, offered a piece of advice to up-and-coming debaters, which is to always be intimately acquainted with the information that supports their arguments, and particularly the sources that this information comes from. For Choice News Now, I am Cianna Dalsan.